I did not invest anything in my retirement for 1 whole year. And I was shocked to see what happened. Hey guys, it's Justine, your host of the Debt Free Millennials channel. Here we talk about all things financial confidence, crushing debt that leads to more fun and fewer payments. And we're gonna talk about investing today, specifically my personal retirement accounts, because I have not invested in my retirement accounts for a whole year. I'm gonna tell you why that happened. There's some things that happened in the past year. And then also, let's just jump in to look at performance and rate of return. All of my retirement accounts are with Vanguard, so let's hop over to that and I'll show you what it's looking like. So this is inside of my Vanguard dashboard, and you're going to see right off the bat, I've had a rate of return of 13.3%, which I was absolutely shocked about because I haven't done anything in the last 12 months. I've had an investment returns of $84,682 with an ending balance of $169,241. So this is spread across 3 accounts. I have a rollover IRA, a Roth IRA, and a SEP IRA, which I can talk about in just a second, but I wanted to show you exactly, like this chart shows you the cumulative returns, but I wanted to scroll down here to balances versus transactions because you can see how I've just flatlined. This purple blue line are the net deposits and withdrawals, and you can see that it's just been $0,000, but also my ending balance has just continued to climb up over the past 12 months, which is insane. You're gonna see the dip of minus $3,400. I did have to withdraw some money out because I had excessive retirement contributions from the tax year prior. So I worked with the CPA and they said, you over invested in your retirement, so we have to take that out so that you're not messing up your taxes. So that's why that's there. Otherwise, everything in here has basically stayed the same, but also has just done really well. I'm shocked. I'm happy. Okay, so the reason why I have 3 different retirement accounts. I have the rollover IRA, which was from an existing 401k when I used to work in corporate. And then when I decided to leave and start my own thing, I said, I wanna control that money. I wanna pick the funds that I'm invested in. So what you can do is you can open up a rollover IRA with Vanguard and then just transfer that 401k money directly into the rollover IRA. You can do this. There's no tax liabilities when you do this transfer because they are taxed the same way. A rollover IRA is technically a traditional IRA. A traditional IRA is taxed the same way a 401k is, in which your growth right now is tax-free. And then when you go to take those contributions during retirement, you are taxed on that money. That's why 401k contributions are a deduction from your paycheck before taxes, which reduces your taxable income. The second thing that I have is the Roth IRA. Roth IRAs are taxed complete opposite of a 401k or a traditional IRA, in which you are taxed up front on your money. And so you're taxed up front on your money that you contribute into a Roth IRA. There are income limits and eligibility requirements in order to have a Roth IRA. So if you are a single income earner, you have to look at your modified adjusted gross income. This MAGI, you can get this from last year's tax return, okay? This is listed as a line item. You must have earned under $161,000 in income if you're a single income earner. If you are married and you file jointly, your MAGI must be under $240,000. Now for 2024, the max contribution limit for a Roth IRA is $7,000 if you're under the age of 50. If you're over 50, your contribution gets bumped to $8,000. This amount likely will have increased for 2025. So that's the deal with Roth IRAs. The cool thing about Roth IRAs and why I'm a big fan is that when you go to withdraw from your Roth IRA during retirement, your withdrawals are tax-free. They're tax-free, you don't pay any taxes. So big, huge proponent of that. You can actually, the rollover IRA into a Roth, that's called a backdoor IRA. If you are a high income earner, your income phases you out of eligibility. This is one way that you can avoid paying higher taxes during retirement, because we all know tax rates are just going to climb up. So that's one opportunity for you, is to look into a backdoor Roth IRA. The third retirement plan that I hold is a SEP IRA. Because I no longer was with a corporation that had an employer-sponsored retirement plan like a 401k or a 403b, I opted to open up a SEP IRA. So a SEP IRA is a simplified employee pension IRA, and it's unique because you can contribute as the employee and you can contribute as the employer. Your contributions are based upon how much income you've made in your business. And so the contribution limits to the SEP IRA are actually much, much higher than it would be for a traditional IRA. In fact, the eligible compensation limit as of 2024 is $345,000. I'm not anywhere close to that. But if you're self-employed or you do the S corporation selection like what I've had, the contributions are generally limited to 20% of net income, which is what I've been doing, and why I had the excess contributions, because I was contributing a little bit more than the 20% of net income, just because I needed to check in with myself mid-year to make sure that I was not contributing more than I needed to, which that was the case. It's fine. This is one retirement plan that you can use if you decide to become a small business owner or entrepreneur. So let's talk about this reason of why I didn't invest. This past year, actually beyond that, for the past 6-ish years, I had been operating my business as a sole proprietor. A sole proprietor simply means that I am doing my taxes through my own personal tax return. So I don't have a separate tax return for my business. I spoke with a lawyer who specializes in helping entrepreneurs and small businesses, and he really recommended, based on what my income level was, what my revenue level was for the business, that I switch over to an LLC with an S corporation structure. Now, I found on the Taylor Brands website, and if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you know I've worked with Taylor Brands here and there. So it's been really great because they have so much information for those of you who are wanting to start your own business or become an entrepreneur, and then figuring out the legalities behind it on how to get set up legally. So if you want to be a sole proprietor, or if you want to be an LLC, or if you want to do this special S Corp selection and structure, and let Taylor Brands tell you what that is. Okay, so an S corporation is a tax classification, not one of the many available business entities. Before you become an S Corp, you must first form an LLC or C corporation. An S corporation is a pass-through entity, and all profits pass through to the shareholders or owners' tax return, avoiding corporation tax and double taxation. LLC business owners whose income is higher than the industry average can elect S Corp taxation to reduce their self-employment tax bill. That was the thing that I was interested in, is lowering my self-employment tax bill, because when I was living in California, it was just insane. So what you do in an S Corp situation is you take a reasonable compensation, the industry salary for what you were doing. So I'm a content creator, I do social media, I do email marketing, I do a lot of copywriting, and so I'm finding a reasonable salary for that, and then any remaining profits can be distributed to you as a distribution, and that's not subject to self-employment tax, which is a huge tax advantage. In fact, I compared the last year that I was a sole prop to the first year that I did as an S Corp, and I actually saved myself $9,000 in taxes just by making this switch. So you're like, what does this switch have to do with you stopping your retirement contributions? I was a little unclear about how much I could invest, because at the same time that I was doing this and putting myself on consistent regular payroll, which I had regularly been paying myself, but I hadn't actually really done the whole payroll thing and the taxes thing in that way. I was kind of DIYing it. I was also at the same time investing hardcore back into my business. I was hiring mentors and coaches, and I was pouring a lot of money into them so that they could pour into me and therefore get to the next level of business, essentially. And so I got a little gun shy when it came to really investing in my retirement at the same time that I was investing in mentors and coaches, because I felt like a lot of money was going out of the business. And this money, this idea of me stopping the retirement stems from a money belief that it has been hard for me to beat, which is money is scarce and I need to hold on to it or else I'll never get it back. This is a money belief that I've had since I was a kid, and it's something that I have to work on in different areas of my life. It's showing up in my business so that I can see, like, actually money is abundant, it comes to me freely, and even though I'm in a place where money is like coming out of the wallet, I know that it's going to like triple the amount coming in. So that is also why I didn't invest for the last 12 months, because I was really just feeling very much like, let me stay safe. We've got a lot of personal life changes happening. I want to make sure that I have my business finance taken care of so that I can also pay myself. But let's go back into the investments, because I just thought this was really interesting how the investments increased over the last year. And I'm only invested in 3 funds. The first one that I'm invested in is the VFFVX. This is the Vanguard Target Retirement 2055 Fund. The third one is the Vanguard 500 Index Fund. This is the VFIAX. And then lastly, good old trusty VTSAX. This is the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. All of these are classified as their Admiral shares, or they are classified technically as mutual funds. So you're probably like, okay, mutual funds, these are index funds. I'm so confused. Also, what is this ETF? So basically the way the Vanguard does this is that you can purchase this basket of funds. An index fund is a basket of funds that have a whole bunch of different stocks, depending on what type of fund it is, inside of this one fund. So you get to basically buy one fund, and then you get to have shares of all these different major companies. So it's really great. The difference between the ETFs and the mutual fund shares, or the Admiral shares, is the ETF offers more trading flexibility, so you can buy and sell throughout the day, whereas the mutual fund shares, trading only happens once, and it's typically at the end of the trading day. Plus, with an ETF, you can actually purchase portions or fractions of an ETF starting as low as $1. With the mutual fund shares or the Admiral shares, you're typically going to have to meet a minimum investing amount, where it's typically around $3,000 directly with Vanguard. However, even though this investing minimum is quite high, you can actually automate and schedule investing contributions using the mutual fund shares or the Admiral shares. With the ETFs, you can't do that. You just have to go in and buy it when you remember. So there is a little bit more convenience factor when it comes to the Admiral shares, which is why I chose to do all of these. Now, if you're like, well, I really want Admiral shares, but I don't have $3,000 minimum to get started, you can always start with the ETFs and then pivot into and transfer into the mutual fund shares once you hit that 3K minimum. So I just pulled up all of these tear sheets, which are basically digital summaries of what these funds are. One of the things that I look at is the expense ratio. So how much am I going to be charged for holding this particular fund? So this is the operating costs. They're deducted from dividend capital gains distributions, not the principal. So you're going to see that listed across each of these. So the Vanguard 500 Index Fund also has an expense ratio of 0.04%. I've mentioned the Target Retirement Fund before in other videos. Their fund fees and the expense ratio is 0.08. So this is much higher than the other ones. And I chose this fund because it automatically reallocates how those funds are invested as you get closer to that target date. So my target date is 2055. Yours could be 2060, it could be 2040, and it's automatically going to shift and reallocate those funds into something that's a little bit more conservative. Typically that's bonds. Now, somebody in the comments on another video was like, hey, you do realize that you're basically invested in the same stuff that you are in the total stock market index fund. And so while I realize that this has just been a crazy year, it's definitely given me something to think about where I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I could just do VTSAX and then reallocate those funds on my own as I get closer to my target retirement date. So, and this one has only a minimum investment of $1,000. So yes, I see you in the comments. I hear you. I'm also showing this is what I'm still invested in for the time being. Now, I love looking at the performance fees, and then obviously you want to look at, performance and fees. Fees we've covered. Performance I love looking at as well. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, financial planner. I'm not a stockbroker. This is just financial literacy that I am using to know exactly what pieces of information to look at. I like to look at the since inception date because I am interested in holding this fund for a very long time. So you can see, you know, year to date has been amazing. The 1 year of holding this fund, you get a 28.92% return. But really, I'm interested in seeing how has this fund performed over time since it started, since it was actually birthed into the stock market world. 10.41% is actually really incredible. We can check that for Vanguard 500 total index. We can check that for the Vanguard 500 index fund. And so you can see since inception in 2000, this fund has been managed for close to 25 years, and it's had an 8.27% rate of return. And let's check my trusty total stock market index fund. 8.49% rate of return, and then it's showing the benchmark of, okay, how has this performed over time? 8.5%. I'm happy with that too. So I've not done anything for the past year, but I have learned some lessons along the way because I'm still checking the performance of these funds throughout the year. There are 3 big lessons that I've learned from doing this exercise of just pausing the retirement contributions while I'm focused on other things with my business, and then really trying to, like, personally, I just moved across states, I bought a house, I got pregnant. There's just a lot going on. And so I said, let me just pause and see. And so what I've learned after a year of pausing my investments is, number 1, buy and hold is a strategy that is working for me. So I bought these funds way back when. So if I go back to this, you know, I transferred money into Vanguard and got out of a very expensive wealth advisory firm that was charging like 5% upfront. It was ridiculous. And 1% every year after. Guys, check how much your financial advisors are charging you. I switched over to Vanguard and started self-managing my accounts in 2016. And then you can see what's happened since I started doing this on my own. I mean, the chart just continues to speak for itself. I do not sell my funds. I continue to either invest in them by doing contributions from my checking account into Vanguard, or I reinvest the dividends. That's still turned on. So you can see just by doing that, just by buying and holding those accounts, how much this has just collectively helped my retirement accounts. Lesson number 2 is not every year has to be a big investing year. So I'm learning that life happens. We have life transitions. If you've heard me talk about my Millennial Money Moves course, that course is all about helping you financially prioritize and life prioritize and figure out what that right next financial step is for you. This is one of those years for me where it's like definite life priorities are happening. And because I set myself up in a financial position where I don't have debt, except for the mortgage, I don't have debt. I budget consistently every single month. I have a fully funded emergency fund. I've got sinking funds in place. It is okay, and I'm giving myself permission to say, hey, this year was not a big investing year for me, and that is all right. We've got other things. Kyle has been contributing and maxing out his 401k, and I feel like him doing that while I'm taking a pause on this has actually helped kind of give me peace of mind. And also, like, I'm still getting a juicy rate of return of 13% on my investments. So the money is still there and it's still growing. And lesson 3 is Vanguard continues to be an investing company that offers low fees, and it offers investing options that I can stand behind because it's easy for me to understand. They actually did a whole revamp and rehaul of their website probably 2 years ago. In the beginning, it just looked like a hot baby boomer mess. Yeah, they did not have a web dev person who was like, hey, let's talk about the UX UI on this and figure out how are we going to make this a little bit more user-friendly. And I'm very glad that they invested in that because it just makes it so much easier for you to not only understand your performance and your fees, but also get the financial literacy you need about these funds. They do a lot of investing education on their website, so I highly recommend that you check that out. I realized that, I mentioned Kyle is contributing to his 401k, and that kind of gives me a safety net. I realize that not everybody has a partner who contributes to a retirement plan or has a retirement plan, or you're just doing this solo. Even if you were doing this solo, I think maybe a bonus lesson number 4 is because I started early, because I am, with Vanguard 8 years into this, because I started early and started investing those contributions, it has paid off. So investing early and doing that just day in, day out, and getting to a place where it's like, okay, temporarily pause and then I'll get back into it, has really paid off. There are a couple of resources and recommendations that I want to leave you with because this has also really, really helped me figure out how to self-manage my investments and how to know that the choices that I'm making with my investments is the right next step for me personally. The first recommendation is a book called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. I've interviewed J.L. on the channel. If you are interested in me and him speaking together and what that exchange looks like, this guy is amazing. I will link to that up here in the cards. I will also link to his book down in the description box. You can find that on Amazon. Super easy to read. I bought it on Kindle. I loved it so much. I was like, I need a physical copy to mark up and tab and all this stuff. So I bought the physical book as well. It's so good. He wrote it for his young daughter and wanted to write it in such a way that she could understand it, not knowing anything really about personal finance. As a kid, you're just learning these things. Really easy read. Can't recommend it enough. The second tool that I've been using that helps me just have peace of mind when I feel like, oh shit, I made a terrible mistake in not investing in my retirement this year, is tracking my net worth. And I use that through a financial planning simulator tool called Projection Lab. Projection Lab is so cool because you can plug in all of your numbers, all of your savings, if you have debt, assets, any retirement and non-retirement plans. You can actually create different financial scenarios to see how this is going to play out, what your net worth will truly be like during retirement, what living expenses you have currently, what living expenses you want to have when you retire, if you want to retire early, all of these different little things that this software developer put together. I love this tool. I use this tool with my one-on-one coaching clients, but you can definitely test ride it for free. I will leave my affiliate link below. And if you use that link and you end up wanting to purchase the full subscription, which basically just saves your data forever and ever, you get 10% off. So I will leave that link for Projection Lab. Thank you, Kyle. His name is Kyle. My husband's name is Kyle. Thank you, Kyle, to the software developer who put that tool together because there's no back-end selling component. It's not tied to any kind of advisory firm like Empower is. So I love this tool. I am curious, how have you been doing with your retirement accounts this year? Have you been investing in them, or have you been taking a pause like me? Let me know in the comments, and let me know if you would like another retirement update once I start contributing to this bad boy. All right, so that was a look inside of why I didn't invest in my retirement for one whole year, what the results were, and lessons learned. If you like retirement videos on the channel, or you want to talk more investing here, give this video a thumbs up. That lets me know to create more content just like this. And make sure you are a subscriber so that you never miss another video from me. I'll catch you in the next one.